everyone, I'm Megan Sullivan, and welcome to my thoughts on Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. Full disclosure, I did receive a code for the PlayStation 5 version of the game. So, what's the verdict for this remaster of the classic GameCube farming simulator? Well, the good news is that if you're feeling nostalgic, or you have young children, or you've never played a farming simulator before, this might be worth your time. But if you're an old farmhand at this genre, there's not a whole lot to recommend here. Even with some nice updated graphics and the ability to settle down with someone from either gender, which nicely opens up the dating pool, A Wonderful Life is 2 decades old, and it really shows. Its basic, repetitive mechanics, uneven pacing, and occasional lack of player agency makes it hard to recommend in the face of newer, shinier, deeper farming simulators. But let me explain. A Wonderful Life follows the adventures of a young farmer who moves to the bucolic town of Forgotten Valley and spends many a year attempting to restore their family's old farm while befriending the locals, starting a family, and helping a trio of sprites, or elves, entice the local nature goddess back to the valley. So the basic plot of any Harvest Moon game, and the basic mechanics of any Harvest Moon game. When you arrive in Forgotten Valley, the somewhat gruff but generous caretaker of your farm, Takakura, will hand over a bag of seeds, a cow, a few basic farming tools, and farming notes that you can review at any time by bringing up the main menu. From then on, it's your duty to raise adorable-looking livestock and work patches of gridded farmland, all while listening to cozy music. With a simple tap of a button, in this case the square button on the PlayStation 5 controller, you can easily perform any activity as long as you have the right tool for the job. Tap square with a hoe to make a patch of dirt, tap square holding a bag of seeds to plant crops, tap square with a watering can to water your fields, then tap square to harvest them. The same action applies to your livestock. Tap square with a brush to clean your animals, tap square to milk your cows, tap square to ring a bell to call your animals out to pasture, tap square to call them back inside. You can even use the square button to gather wild herbs and catch fish, or search for treasure at a nearby archaeological dig site. I think you get the idea. Once you've acquired enough edibles and ancient treasure, you can then sell these objects and use the profits to invest back into your farm. Or you can use your edibles to whip up meals that can either be eaten to replenish your stamina, which is needed to perform chores around your farm, or gift them to the local populace, who you'll need to constantly socialize with in order to progress parts of the story, as well as unlock minigames and special cutscenes that range from humorous to heartwarming. Since A Wonderful Life features a refreshingly short calendar year, each season is only 10 days long, there's plenty of ways to pass the time in Forgotten Valley. Unfortunately, none of these activities are very deep or interesting, and some agricultural upgrades are so expensive it feels like it takes forever to access new farming activities. Thus, things can get pretty boring pretty fast. And that doesn't just go for the agricultural aspects of A Wonderful Life. This also extends to the social aspects as well. On paper, I really like the idea for the story. A Wonderful Life follows your farming avatar over the course of their entire life, and you get to see how the town and people change over time. There are births, deaths, kids grow up, and new people move in. It's a great concept, and many of the cutscenes involving the townspeople are very, very sweet. Unfortunately, the pacing just drags in places. Talking to people on a daily basis often feels like a chore. Even riding a horse, it takes quite a bit of time to travel through the vast and eerily empty valley in order to talk to the local denizens. And when you finally track them down, they just mutter the exact same lines about the weather or their daily activities over and over and over and over again. But you have to interact with them to raise your friendship meter with them so you can unlock new cutscenes or fun little mini-games, which means enduring endless repetitive complaints about the summer heat and winter cold ad nauseum. But that's not even the worst thing about socializing, and this is where I got frustrated with A Wonderful Life. You see, it's so focused on wanting to tell the story it wants to tell, it quickly robs you of any real agency you have over your avatar. I found out the hard way that if you don't get married by the end of the first year you're in Forgotten Valley, you automatically get a bad ending. I'm serious. Day 1 of year 2, even if you haven't proposed to somebody or shown romantic interest in them, Takakura will barge into your house and give you a list of potential spouses you have to choose from. If you refuse, because wait a minute, you've only hung out with some of these people a handful of times, your character will be forced to leave the valley and a credit screen will roll. What the heck? On top of that, once you do get married, mild spoiler alert, the game automatically fast forwards a few years and suddenly you're saddled with a child whether you like it or not. I was not pleased. Who is this small person? How did they get into my house? And if my husband is so in love with me, why does his friendship meter seem kind of low? I don't understand why the game couldn't wait for me to farm a couple of years and then propose to somebody and then trigger all of these major events. Being rushed into marriage is really disconcerting. The romance doesn't feel earned, and being forced to marry so early completely zapped me of any motivation to endure repetitive conversations with other eligible bachelors and bachelorettes because the thrill of the chase was gone. I will say though, I did enjoy the cute little family vignettes that would play out from time to time. And there is still incentive to keep playing because, like I said, you do get to see how the town and people change over time. But these changes sometimes feel few and far between because your daily life is such a grind. At least it felt that way to me, and honestly, by year 3, I was just tired of the game. The story, or maybe I mean the pacing of the story, is just weird and frustrating, and the mechanics are so shallow they just couldn't hold my attention. But I still say that if you want something very basic, or you played this game before and are feeling nostalgic, or you have really little kids and want to give them something age appropriate to play, Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life might be the game for you. Otherwise, I would seek greener pastures. Have you played this game yet? What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you later.